Warlock Recall and co-host, friend, and father-to-be, Syntax. Welcome to the club and welcome to the podcast again.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's a bit of a life changer right there.
It is. It's a very, very big life changer.
Well, congratulations again, and I'm sure you'll find plenty of support from your collegiate buddies who will be no doubt cheering for you on that front. Yeah, and that's exciting news. So I'm very happy for you and your
Thank you.
wife to be, and just it takes me back when I've had my eldest announced to me. I started I kind of freaked out, and I went on like an hour and a half long just binge workout, and I just got like my shirt was just drenched, and I wore like probably my hardest workout that I had done post college, and I was just terrified and happy at the same time. It was a great memory. Uh, Homie Migs, welcome back to the podcast. Thanks again for joining us. We've got some great topics to discuss, starting off with Mississippi State University dominating the Rainbow Six round in the third annual Esports Egg Bowl over Ole Miss 2-0. So the call that I made and the call that we saw in the stats based off of the Gulf Coast standings was absolutely correct. MSU took that round, so congrats to MSU for winning the round, but then also winning the whole darn thing. And I believe it was done even before the 8th and 9th matches were even played, so not quite dominant, but in convincing manner. So that's a huge shout out to them. But we're going to be rolling right along. We've been practicing our production values here, and so we've got an agenda, and we're still starting late, but we are getting better. So let's go into FACEIT. Now, FACEIT is kind of this weird state. They're treating it like a preseason. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles hooked up. Like the website still doesn't track match history, which is a huge problem when you have 26 groups of 5 teams battling it out, and with the record tracking being a little weird about how many games have been played, but then there's a 5th week bye week just for ease of scheduling, I'm supposing. But so the way that these groups have broken down, it still doesn't convince me that it's the most competitive format, but it is an easy way for them to have started their preseason and hopefully move into a seeded tournament in the spring. So I'm going to read through a lot of these matches and some of these groups as they seem more competitive, or as they seem like there's something else to say about them, but otherwise we'll breeze through some of the top teams in these leagues. So in Group A, we have Auburn Varsity sitting 4-0. No one else of real consequence in that group. Pretty much makes sense that Auburn would be there at 4-0. Group B is quite a bit more competitive. Illinois State 4-0, Iowa State 3-1, UTSA 2-1 at the moment, but they have another game to play, which could easily put them up to 3-1 and tied with Iowa State. So, but the main thing from this group is that it's exciting to see Illinois and Iowa starting to make a name for themselves. They've been consistently competitive, but in this format where it's a group of 5, if the group standings were to make a difference who were going into the playoffs in the preseason, it would be highlighting that they are the competitors to beat in that group. Y'all play Tuesday. There you go. And so Iowa and Illinois making names for themselves, which is great. And this league format definitely highlights that opportunity. And UTSA seems out of place in this group. So it's weird that they're there, but at the same time, geographically, it seems like that's how it's fallen out, given how many Texan schools there are. So makes sense. But that's a competitive league right there. That's a good group to be looking out for. Homie Migs calling out that they lost to Illinois in map 3, round 15, 3v3 in the last 15 seconds. Oh, what a heartbreaker. You should send in a clip, and I'm happy to retweet that out and at least show that it was a very competitive map. And hearing that it's that competitive, that Iowa State and Illinois State could have had reversed 4-0, 3-1 records just determined in the last 15 seconds of the very last round, that's pretty exciting. Uh,
were you guys on attack or defense for that last round?
and what map? While we wait for that, I'm going to jump into the next group. Group C, UNC Charlotte. I'm excited to see them on the top at 4-0. They struggled a little bit last season, kind of fell off, but it seems like they're hitting a groove now that's consistent with their group. So UC San Diego and Cincinnati Red, teams that have been around, and they've been kind of middle of the pack, up and down, probably falling into the open league and open playoffs regularly. But here they are, 3-1 in this league, so another competitive group right there. And Homie Migs actually just updated us. They were on attack on Cafe. Syntax, how does that read to you?
That makes sense because a lot of the times whenever I see people attacking on Cafe, attacks on Cafe are generally really slow. Just from what I've seen, I'm not calling you guys slow. It's just a general all around that I've seen. It's just people are slow on attack on Cafe because it's pretty hard to enter Cafe because it's a pretty defender sided map, and also with all the utility as well that you got to clear out. And if you guys aren't extremely well coordinated with clearing out utility, which should be your first priority, then it's going to take a while. And obviously then the 20-second meta comes in, right? So I mean it's not surprising, and that's unfortunate.
Yep. Moving on, Group D is actually kind of exciting. University of Hawaii Manoa, 4-0, leading the way. Now they still have to play Elon, who is also 4-0, so they're going to clash in this last week. So how that breaks out will actually, I believe, give us a good understanding of Manoa's overall strength, because I haven't seen them compete anywhere else. So again, an opportunity for universities to make a name for themselves across these three leagues just by participating in one of them and fighting a team that's in another league that's participated very and shown very strongly. Group E, Purdue 3-0, ASU 3-1, Southern Arizona University 3-1. I think that this is falling more towards like top middle of the pack, top of the middle of the pack in terms of competitive. Arizona State has always been competitive. SAU showed us a lot in CRSL last season. Purdue coming out strong this season. Didn't really pay much attention to them last season or the season prior, really. So it's an interesting group, and noticing that even fourth place is tied or is at 2-2. So that whole group actually showed pretty well. No one was falling really far behind, which is good. Kennesaw State, University of Utah, and RIT White. So I believe RIT White is the JV squad for RIT. So to see 3-0, 3-0, 3-1 for those three teams, it's a tight group, and again shows how competitive RIT is to have a JV squad. But then the fact that KSU and Utah are on top also gives you a lot of depth of where their strength is at. CSULB taking the 4-0 lead in Group G, and Humber has a chance to tie them given that they've played one last game. But Humber just hasn't been a top team to track. They've been participants, and I want to say in CRSL they actually fell pretty hard, if I recall correctly. So to see them 3-0 helps me believe that they recovered, that they found a little bit more of their groove, and that they weren't thrown off over the summer. But CSULB showing well here, despite some of their showings that we'll talk about later in another league. But it's good to see CSULB finding some stride. Group H, Ohio State, Maryville, and San Diego State University being so Ohio State 4-0, no surprise there. This is the varsity squad, so they were 4-1 in CR6, I believe. Maryville 3-1, and Maryville, I've said it a number of times, they are a competitive-based university program, so it's only a matter of time until you start seeing more scholarships roll out from Maryville, and you start to see them pull 4-0 more often. SDSU Aztec, I'm honestly not too familiar with San Diego State, so to see them going 3-1, it's a mid-tier group. with Ohio State kind of stacking the group overall. But to see Maryville and SDSU do so well consistently tells you that they're a team to watch. You can't take matches against them or with them lightly. Auburn Orange and Bradley University. This is Auburn's JV squad, and the rest are unknown to me. So 3-0 so far. We'll see how their matches stack up going on. Robert Morris and Texas Tech lead the way in Group J. Robert Morris, one of the founders of collegiate esports, one of the first, I believe they were the first to offer scholarships. So it's kind of surprising to see them at the top. They've been around competitively for the longest, but I don't know if they've really made splashes anywhere. And it may just be because they have 5 games recorded why they're on top. But Texas Tech has the opportunity to pull out the 5-0 win of the group, which Texas Tech is ranked 6th in CR6. So you know that they're a strong team competitively. Group K, St. Clair was led the way 4-1 by St. Clair. Again, another top tier team from in CR6. Then where is Northern Arizona University also showed well in CRSL, 4-0. So they have an opportunity to really take it to St. Clair. Actually, sorry, I should say they have an opportunity to be ranked well in the single elimination tournament that's going to be the preseason playoffs that'll be starting this coming week. I believe the week starts on Wednesday, so we will get some playoff action from FACEIT during the preseason. So we'll start seeing more of these 4-0 teams, 4-1, 4-0, 5-0, 3-2 kind of teams participating in that. And I don't believe they're actually relegating anybody out of the playoffs. So that's going to be a really big playoff bracket, but you're going to see teams float to the top really quickly and just float through that first and second rounds, honestly. Going. We've got a number of matches to go, but I'm going to skip some. University of Montreal and Central Florida, no surprises there, seeing them on top of their group in Group M. UGA Red, no surprises here with the rest that are in their group, leading Group N at 4-0. University of Tulsa and University of Ottawa are leading Group O with MSU, Green, Michigan State. I'm surprised to see Tulsa and Ottawa up there. Like, it's weird. They're teams that I had no idea even had a Rainbow Six squad, but here they are. They're doing well. And MSU Green is my baseline for that. They are a good team, and they've been showing really well in CR6. So a group to watch if you're watching that league, Group O. Florida Tech and CU Boulder leading the way of Group P. No surprises there. NC State taking Group Q 4-0 is a bit of a surprise to me. So I've never followed North Carolina State. Kind of interesting to see them making a name for themselves here. Group R is the most competitive group entirely in FACEIT right now, with Texas A&M, Bama White, University of Wisconsin White. No, that's University of.
It is. Or
is that Whitewater?
It is, right?
Or is that Wesleyan? University Wesleyan. Gosh, I'm losing my name.
No, you had it right. It's University of Wisconsin Whitewater.
Okay, so to see them 2-2 in this highly competitive group makes me excited to see Bama White and A&M play some more. UTA Scarlet is here as well, but I feel bad for West Texas because they're just in such okay, yeah, UW is Whitewater. Yeah, okay. Thank you, homie. Homie Migs. West Texas, just unfortunately in a stacked Texas-based or primarily Southern-based group is just unfortunate for them, but can't hold anything against them. They'll probably show well in the playoffs anyways. Group S, Charger Blue, UAH, University of Alabama, Huntsville, Charger Blue. No surprise seeing them there. I'm kind of surprised to see UC Davis in second place. Just kind of one of the lesser known UC schools. West Texas is a new team. That's unfortunate for a new team to be put into that group.
Yeah.
But I mean,
fun fact: West Texas is actually the sister school to A&M. It's actually West Texas A&M University, but they're all the way up in Canyon, Texas.
gotcha. Okay, that's good context. There is nothing remarkable about Group T. Lots of low tier teams, and I expect a lot of first round outs from this team or from these groups going into the playoffs, which is unfortunate to say, but the honest truth. Virginia Tech and GCU, Grand Canyon University, leading Group U 3-0. Historically strong teams are too strong for this group, so nothing left to say there. Central Missouri had a great showing in CR6 playoffs this last week, and we'll get to that. But seeing them 3-0, no surprises here. There is a new school that is also 3-0. That it's Fanshawe Fuel 3-0, showing well.
What was that?
I have no idea, but Fanshawe. Cool to see another school making a name for themselves here. Maryland, Baltimore, and Akron are 3-0 in Group W, followed by University of British Columbia at 3-1. I expect to see Akron pull a 5-0 out of this group, honestly. UMBC and UBC have dropped games to lesser teams in other leagues. It'll be interesting to find out if UMBC versus Akron just isn't a blowout. And I'm assuming that UBC's one match lost is to Akron. That would be my assumption, at least.
That's a Canadian team, Fanshawe. They're based out of London, Ontario.
Okay, well there you go. Welcome to the league. Welcome to the podcast, Fanshawe. Mississippi State University 4-0 in Group X. Cal State Cal Esports right underneath them 3-0. All is right in the world. And in the last group, Group Y, UT Austin 3-1, just over FIU, who's 3-0. So there's another match to make. So I believe FIU will pull ahead in that once the fourth game is recorded, assuming a 4-0. And that's FACEIT. Now, there's a lot going on there. There's a lot going on. And so the playoffs are going to be pretty quick, I imagine. I believe that starts this week. Default matches will occur on Saturdays at noon. So we're probably looking at data that hasn't even been updated at this point. So we'll hopefully have that by Monday and be able to report on how the playoffs are shaking out then or next week. Let's go ahead and jump over to CR6. And Syntax, you want to take the lead here?
Yeah, absolutely. So in CR6, all right, let me get my bearings here. So Northeastern, they just cleaned up Ohio State. So they are the 32 seed, and they beat out the number 1 seed, but then fell to the 16th seed to MSU, who also beat out their 17th seed opponent.
And that was Michigan State. Michigan State University, yeah.
Okay, so Michigan State beat out their 17th seed opponent of University of Montreal, the other Canadian team. Single elim, only top team of each group makes it out.
Oh, well, that's a note that's missing from the FACEIT website. So that's really unfortunate to see that there's going to be some tiebreakers or some ties that are just going to be broken by some default tie-breaking mechanic.
Well, it'd probably be round differential.
Yeah, if that's tracked.
Oh, yeah. It may not be tracked.
It's not public information, at least, so maybe it's tracked on the back end, but...
Okay.
Yeah,
well,
good to know.
So Ohio State Gray, they're actually the JV squad, and they actually beat the Southern Division. They won the Southern Division, which kind of reinforces the idea that the Northern Division is a stronger team. Now, you have to think about how a JV squad would do against a varsity squad like Akron or St. Clair, or even Boston University. And they might do well. We never know. So I guess we'll see.
And those other schools, so Akron, St. Clair, and UDM and Boston, were the actual Northern Division teams that JV squad should have been playing if they were put into the same league. But CR6 separated out the JV squads from participating in the same league to not give the varsity squad an up and being able to be ranked higher. So the JV squad was moved over to the Southern Division and just crushed it. So when you think about how the JV squad would have done against Akron St. Clair, like that's it's hard to believe that they would perform as well. And Northeastern, the 32 seed, was the bottom of that group of the Northern Division. Northeastern was the bottom team to qualify for the playoffs, and thus the 32nd seed. So again, that it blows my mind to think that the JV squad dominated an entire division, and provided the highest round differential in the league, as well as a 5-0 win in the Southern Division, just to be cleaned up by the 32nd seed team, the bottom premier team to qualify from the Northern Division. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Here's what I find interesting. So UTSA, they actually lost to St. Clair, but then St. Clair immediately went and lost to A&M Maroon. The reason I find this interesting is because UTSA beat A&M Maroon pretty handily, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they lost to St. Clair and then A&M Maroon went back and beat St. Clair, I don't know. I just find that really interesting. Considering both A&M and UTSA were neck and neck in the regular season.
Yeah, I believe they had a tied record, and UTSA had a round differential 17 while A&M was 14. So they were really, really close, and they would have played a lot of the same opponents.
Yeah, and then MSU, I believe that's Michigan State, right?
Let's see. Yeah. Yes.
So
or
MSU,
no, that was this MSU, I believe, is Mississippi State.
Mississippi State. Okay.
Yeah.
So with A&M being the 25th seed and MSU being the 8th seed, and then A&M beating MSU was kind of an upset for a lot of people, and kind of a surprise. Now, and then Cal Esports over Boise right now, and Joe says in his notes he doesn't know if he can take any more big upsets.
I mean, 31 beating 1, my heart hurts. Then 25 beating 8 and 9, that's huge. And I mean, it goes on. There's more. Like, it's crazy. So yeah, sorry, my notes. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, A&M. So A&M brought back Dow. Okay, I didn't know Dow was still playing. Dow's an all right player. I remember playing. I played with him a couple times. I think back when I was still playing, if I remember. He must have gotten a lot better, because I mean he was okay when I was playing with him, but he must have really hit the grindstone. Let's see, where am I here? UGA 12th seed beat Georgia Tech, which is the 21st seed. Kind of given there, if I remember correctly, what Georgia Tech is. CSUB, the 5th seed, beat University of Kentucky, who's the 21st seed again. It's about up to expectations, but CSULB losing to UGA is kind of one of those matches where it was kind of a coin toss on who would win. So, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, and it's still weird to try and find those power rankings and meaning in the seeds, because like when you get out of the 5-0 schools and you get down to, because there was like 5 of those, and so then 6th through 15th were probably all 4-1 teams from the regular season. So, and it's down to round differential at that point, and the numbers could have been skewed by a forfeit. They could have been skewed by just a blowout, and so it's hard to really judge a team's strength just off of 5 regular season matches and round differential. So it's really a toss up when you start getting to like that 12-21 state, but at the same time, when you know that these teams have some history together, University of Georgia versus Georgia Tech, you know what team is going to come out on top there. So there's some depth there that just needs to be understood. So like CSULB 5th over University of Kentucky 21st. Yeah, I believe that just because CSULB has been so consistent and Kentucky is relatively new, but then CSULB losing to UGA, that surprises me based off of the historical evidence between the two teams.
Okay. Let's see here. Purdue. So Purdue is actually on a winning streak right now. They recently beat Sam Houston, Kennesaw, and then they're going to be playing Ohio State varsity squad, which is the 10th seed. So some more depth behind that. Kennesaw beat out the Longhorn Gaming squad, and then Ohio State beat out the cursed acronym team last week, and Iowa. And by that I mean CGC UIC. Akron is making their way through. Honestly, no surprise there. UBC Gold and University of Wisconsin Whitewater both got beat by Texas Tech. And so Akron is, if I have your notes correct, is Akron's going to be playing Texas Tech?
Yeah, that's in the semis, best of, or round of 8. So, and that was UBC Gold and Wisconsin Whitewater fell to Akron as they were making their playoff run. So those, I mean, it's Akron. It's hard to believe that anyone can really stand in their way until you get to like the top 5 other teams. Just the way that they play, it's scary.
They're kind of a force to be reckoned with. They're kind of a wrecking ball all the way through. So I guess we'll see how the other teams hold up in the finals. It'd be really interesting to see how the other teams hold up. Virginia Tech lost to UCSD, which I would say is kind of an upset because UCSD's seed 22nd and Virginia Tech is the 11th seed. So, and then UCSD, if I'm reading this correctly, UCSD lost to Texas Tech on their way through the bracket, which is also really interesting. Again, back to Texas Tech. They actually brought down Boston University. To me, honestly, that's actually kind of surprising because yes, because wasn't Boston University doing really well last season?
Last season, yes. And where they fell in their division, let me look up for you real quick. Assuming Northern. So yeah, they were just over Northeastern. So Northeastern was 3-2 with a round differential of 11, and they were your 32nd seed. Boston University was 4-1 with a round differential of 9. So they struggled to get to that. Struggled to get to that 4-1. It was close. It could have gone either way. Like I feel like you could probably swap Boston and Northeastern for the most part. And if I'm being really honest, I know more about Northeastern. Just I know more about that club in general. But Northeastern is really pushing to be a competitive esports school. So to me, it's not a surprise that they were a strong enough team to take out the Ohio State JV squad. But to see Boston struggle and lose to Texas Tech isn't that much of a surprise to me, just because of where I value the Texas schools over some of the lower ranked northern schools.
Okay, that's fair. I see that. And yeah, that looks about everything there is for CR6.
Yeah, and so that gets us caught up, and now we have our bracket choices to go through. We've got round of 8, MSU Green, so Michigan State University varsity, ranked 16th versus A&M 25th. Who is your pick in that matchup?
let's see where I'm at here. Let me bring it up.
Round of
Um,
8, top left
right,
quadrant.
for the final four, I have A&M Maroon is going to beat out MSU, and then
Okay.
I have UGA over Cal Esports.
We're flip flopped. So I've got MSU over Cal, or I've got MSU over A&M. I've got Cal over UGA, and I've got MSU over Cal going into the finals.
Now let me explain my reasoning for this.
Sure.
So this is CR6, right?
Yep.
If I am understanding the patterns of Maroon correctly, they are putting most of their effort into FACEIT.
Oh,
Now,
interesting.
whether they beat MSU Green or not is kind of a coin toss. I'm kind of
Mm-hmm.
on the edge about that. I went with Maroon anyways, just because I've got bias, but um, because I have A&M Maroon against UGA Red for the Final Four, and then I have UGA taking over A&M Maroon for this because, like I said, I don't think A&M is focusing all their efforts into CR6 as much as they are into FACEIT. Because if you go look at their stats for like CR6 versus their stats for FACEIT, they're
Mm-hmm.
completely different.
Oh, that's interesting. And I mean, we also have new information with Dow joining the squad. And if if he was a sub that wasn't participating earlier in the CR6 season, we've got we've got new information and a new balance to that team. So that 25th seed may actually be a little bit of smoke and mirrors about the quality of the team going forward. So if A&M has played with Dow the last 2 weeks against MSU, so Mississippi State, who was pretty clean during the season, and then St. Clair, who was also really clean during the season, playing in the highly competitive Northern Division. For A&M to have that 25th seed is crazy. Uh, so okay,
Oh, we got Chief in here who's part of the Maroon squad,
okay,
and he says Maroon is not putting effort into FACEIT right now. We just have an easy group. That's interesting. He says that because weren't you saying that was the most competitive group that you thought?
right? Because I mean, Bama White, Whitewater, and UTA Scarlet. Like I put a lot of faith in UTA. Whitewater has been around for a while, being competitive, making a name for themselves, and then Bama White. The fact that they're just 3-2 in that group tells me that they can at least hang with A&M or hang above the other teams that are there. So, and at the same time, I don't want to put too much faith in these groups because they're unseeded. It's regional up to a point, and or it's not even regional up to a point because when you have, what was it, University of Hawaii playing, where are they? I called them out because they were doing surprise. They were playing Elon, or they're with Elon, and it's just like you couldn't get much farther away between a team over on the mainland and Hawaii, and so it's weird to see that we have some groups like that. So I don't put much faith into these groups, but out of the ones that I saw, it was the most competitive group.
He says they're really good teams, but we're better. Smiley face.
Hands down. I will agree to that.
So, if you guys aren't putting much effort into FACEIT right now, is that only because you have an easy bracket currently? Does that mean you're going to put effort going forward, or are you focusing more into another league? I haven't really been talking to you guys that much this season, so I have no idea what you guys are up to.
So while we wait for an answer for that, going back to our bracket picks, I guess I might be up a creek without a paddle by picking Michigan State, given that all this information around A&M. But I still think Michigan State has a real chance. They've just performed consistently well through all their trials, and again, taking out Northeastern means a lot in that context of they beat out Ohio State and they already beat out Montreal, which granted 17th seed, Montreal is a great team all the way around.
Okay, so your goal is to finish CR6
Mm,
and then move focus if you have time to face it. Okay. I'm
gotcha.
assuming you guys just have a busy semester then. That's okay.
Yep. All right, moving right along. I put UGA over Cal, or Cal over UGA. I just have more faith in California schools than I think the Georgia region and the Georgia schools. Maybe I'll probably be proven wrong here, but Cal esports, I don't feel like that they've dropped the ball. I feel like they've been really consistent at hitting their stride. So, I mean, over the fact that they also beat Central and Missouri, who crushed Boulder Black last week. Now we know Boulder Black had some consistency and kind of closing out issues, given that they rotated like 2 or 3 of their main players this season. But Central Missouri has turned some heads, absolutely. So, but for Cal Esports to take that over, I'm pretty okay with that. UGA beating CSULB is quite the statement. I just think Cal Esports is going to be more consistent and be on top because CSULB has also had performance problems.
Well, Wanda Swan's in here. He's saying we're talking smack on Georgia. I guess he missed my entire last
He
conversation
must have. He must have because you
because
picked him.
I just said that I was picking UGA to go to the finals. So I don't know. you just well, Wanda Swan, you just missed everything I said.
CSU LB is washed and Cal is not good. Some strong sentiments coming from chat this week. On the other side of the bracket, we've got Purdue versus Ohio State. So number 2 seed versus 10. Granted, this Ohio State is actually the varsity squad. Who do you have, Purdue or Ohio State?
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say, well, you know what? Let's go with OSU. Let's go with Ohio State. Just I'm gonna go out on a limb.
That's my pick as well. Mostly because they were in that stacked division with Akron, St. Clair, Boston, Northeastern, all of them. Like the difference between Akron and Northeastern is still like massive, but Ohio State hung in there. I believe they were 4-1 in their regular season, so they did well. And I think Purdue in the division that they were in was just the lesser division. Let me make sure that they were.
It looked like Purdue had a pretty easy time going from 32 to 8. So I couldn't really tell you how good they are versus the history of Ohio State and who they played.
So I mean, Purdue went 5-0 against Illinois State, University of Whitewater, Wisconsin Whitewater, CGC, UIC, Iowa Gold, and Central Missouri. So I mean, that group fell off, or I mean, the round differential in that group is pretty high when you look at that. Only one of 2 3-2 teams made it into the playoffs, and then the rest were 4-1 with fairly high positive round differentials, ranging from 36 to 12. I believe Purdue overall had an easier group. I mean, you look down Maryville, MTU White, so Michigan Technological, Madison Red, who just kind of fell off. Bradley Braves, I don't know anything about them. Minnesota Gold, again, just kind of a meh team. Longhorn Gaming White, so Longhorn JV, barely qualifying for open playoffs, -1 round differential, and they still made it with a losing record even. UTSA B squad, all the way down to Texas Tech B squad, Missouri State, Baylor Team 2. Like, the rest of the teams who didn't qualify just are non-consequential teams. So while if you look at that northern group or even the Gulf Coast group, there was a lot of competitive teams even that didn't make playoffs one way or another. So let's see. So we both have OSU. So that's we're at least in agreement there. So far it's the other side of the bracket that's going to make the difference for our brackets. So now here's the big question: do you have faith in Akron holding to a tradition of winning, or do you think Texas Tech and the sixth seed will be able to turn an upset? Any time Akron loses, I see it as an upset. I don't know how else to feel about it.
Hangman over here saying people are sleeping on Purdue. I mean, we could be. We could
Could
be.
could be. I
And
will happily. I won't happily eat my shirt if they win, but I mean, come on, round differential 41 is no joke. But we also
mhm.
saw the Ohio State JV squad post a 5-0 and round differential 47, and they were in the Southern Division, a weaker division by my standards, at least my opinion, and they lost to the 32nd seed from the Northern Division. Now we have Purdue against a Northern Division team, a highly competitive team. I don't think they can cut mustard.
You know what? For this next pick, I'm kind of with Chief on this one. I really want to see Texas Tech beat Akron. I know that Akron is kind of just a massive bowling ball, and a lot of these teams are just pins and they're hitting strikes. But I want to see a Texas team win. So I'm gonna go with Texas Tech.
Well, I mean, if Akron wins here, you could have A&M beat Akron. Wouldn't that be better?
It would be better. Um, I would love to see A&M win.
Yeah.
I would love to see it, but like you said, they've got a really busy season, and they're just trying to
Mm-hmm.
finish CR6. So
Yeah. Uh,
it is what it is.
Let me see. Now I'm curious. Gulf Coast Division, Texas Tech, 4-1, 37 versus Akron's 5-0. Yeah, 5-0 and 32. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it's going to be a close match. I don't think that it'll be an easy win for Akron. I think this is going to be probably the most competitive matchup that they've had. Um, because I do put like Texas Tech above teams like St. Clair and even Ohio State Scarlet. I think that's the major cutoff from the Northern Division for me. But yeah, Texas Tech definitely has a chance here. I'm going to go with Akron just because uh, the consistency, the faith from Homie Miggs a few weeks ago, calling them out as potentially being better than even last season. Yeah, mm, that's rough.
Uh, A&M versus Tech finals. I would love to see that, and a whole Texas finals.
Yeah, I mean, it's not unforeseen. It's not like impossible, but if that happens, Texas Tech versus A&M, Texas Tech is going to wipe the floor with them. Just
Oh, let's think about this for a second. A&M might have lost to Tech before, but now they've got Tech's secret sauce. So it is very possible that A&M, and also they've got, according to Miggs, they've got a star player back known as Dow. Um, so they could have a chance against Texas Tech.
it's true, and I mean, Chief put it out in chat. Texas is the best siege state. I can completely believe that. Absolutely, overall at least. But just because you're the best state doesn't mean you can beat out Canada. Just gonna drop that right there, and we'll move right
Canada.
home. Yeah, Akron.
Akron's not a Canadian.
I thought they were. I thought they were. Am I wrong there?
My life is a lie if they are.
Oh, Akron, Ohio. Huh.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
Okay.
I'm
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm crossing St. Clair in my mind. Then I thought St. Clair and Akron were competitive. Well, shoot. Now I'm even more impressed by Ohio. Ohio might be the best siege state. We'll have to see.
Chief, you guys have a coach? Who's coaching y'all?
Uh, so if we so we'll wait until next week to see how these matches break down. But let's get into, and we'll continue chatting with chat as well. But CEA, I'm going to recap real quick through this because we want to get to your section about bans and picks. I want to make sure we have time for that. So last week, Akron beat Rutgers, so 1 versus 8, 2-0, no big deal. Madison Red beat Boulder Black in an upset 2-1. FIU 2-0 over Pennsylvania State. And RIT, the runners-up from last season, lost to Michigan Technological University 2-0. But this is a double elimination playoff, so those teams that lost are still in it. We have in the winners bracket Madison 5th seed losing 2-0 to Akron. Wrecking ball gonna wreck. FIU is downed by Michigan Technological University 2-0. And this is what I'm going to call the biggest upset of the playoffs so far. That Michigan Technological is doing a lot to make waves in the leagues that they're in. So they showed well in CR6, and to take on FIU is a big deal. Akron and Michigan Technological are set up for a big game. I'm hoping I have time to watch that one streamed. It's the 1 seed versus 6 seed, but MTU is carrying a lot of that bracket weight. In the losers bracket, Rutgers is knocked out of the tournament by CU Boulder Black. Boulder is going to play FIU next, which CU Boulder may be able to get under the skin of FIU if, as MTU may have gotten in FIU's head. So just beat them while they're down, kick them while they're down. Boulder can show up. Like, they've had some consistency problems and being able to show that they can convincingly win or win outright. So I would be excited to see Boulder hit a stride, hit a moment with against FIU. But FIU was the one team in CRSL last season that was able to take on Akron. So I don't know if FIU is necessarily the best team, but to take on Akron. But if MTU loses to Akron, I'm going to have to put faith in FIU coming out and being able to win in that league against Akron. Pennsylvania State has also been knocked out last season's runner-up, RIT. So Pennsylvania is still in the running, which is kind of surprising. I believe they were the 7th seed. And so they knocked out RIT, the runners up for last season, and they'll play Madison Red next. So 5th seed versus 7th seed. That one's a toss-up, absolutely a toss-up between the two. I see Madison Red pulling that one out, but Pennsylvania has done a lot of good work this season. They've earned a right to stay within Pennsylvania or within the Invite League just by their performance so far. So even if they get knocked out, they're not going to be losing their spot in the Invitational. So I'm excited to see that. And I didn't get a chance to catch up on any of the relegation matches that should be happening shortly after the playoffs. So we'll have to see how those matchups are looking. But that's all the matchups that we can cover this week. And now we have a special topic based off of what Syntax observed and heard after watching some Pro League and then some collegiate matches. So why don't you take it away?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't really call it a special topic, but it was just something that I really noticed when it comes to the picks and bans of the entire CEA, which I'm pretty sure probably carries over to CR6 as well. It's probably fairly similar. So looking at CEA's defender logs, or not defender logs, but attacking defender ban logs, Mira is banned quite a bit, like almost probably over 90% of the time. And I find it really ironic because I was the other day I was literally watching Pro League, and they were the casters were sitting there talking about how they never see Mira banned anymore, and that Mira isn't a very strong operator because of how many direct counters she has and everything. And then I switched over to CR6, and the casters were also talking about Mira, but they were saying how Mira is such a strong operator and that she's banned all the time. So I started to think, why are they saying completely opposite things? And then I started to think about how people deal with Mira on the different levels. Looking at Pro League, I don't know how many people in the collegiate leagues actually watch Pro League, and how they, if there is a Mira, and like how they actually deal with the Mira. Yeah, Homie Mix is saying it's a comfort ban, but I think it's a waste of a ban because Mira is so easy to deal with. If you even just have a Hibana on your team, there goes all the Mira windows. You can just destroy all the Mira windows. If you have a Twitch that actually knows how to use their drone appropriately, there goes the Mira windows. If you have anyone with frag grenades that can chuck a grenade properly, there goes the Mira. So it just comes down to the players, and Mira windows, especially in the collegiate, at least to the lower level collegiate leagues. Mira's a scary operator because the moment they come around a corner and they see a Mira window, they're immediately like, oh shit, somebody's watching me, right? But think about it. How many times have you played ranked or count or whatever, right? There's a Mira playing Mira, or there's a person playing Mira. How many times have you said somebody needs to be watching this Mira window and nobody is? Probably quite a bit, right? So the chances of somebody actually being at that Mira window are actually kind of small. So I think people need to be a little bit more confident when pushing Mira windows and knowing how to deal with them properly. If you can do that, now you've just opened up a free ban for yourself, right? You don't have to ban Mira. You can ban someone else. And then also Thatcher, right? Everyone's seen the whole Thatcher fad come into effect. People are saying, oh, you know what, we can deal without a Thatcher or whatnot. But honestly, it's a fad. Like, yeah, Thatcher's also a comfort ban. But the truth is they nerfed Thatcher, right? And I don't think people remember that. I've been playing ranked for the past couple days, and a lot of people are saying that like, oh shit, I forgot that Thatcher only disables things now instead of destroying them. I would much rather ban an operator like Maverick over Thatcher, because a good Maverick player is much more scary to deal with than a Thatcher throwing EMPs and just disabling an electronic for a couple minutes or for a couple seconds, right?
Fun fact. At least in the CEA regular season, 5 matches, Akron never banned Mira, despite seeing that. Wrong window, but still, in all of their matches, there was only one of the 4 matches that they played. They banned Mira. That was it. Their other opponent banned Mira, so maybe it was the fact that the other team banned it and they didn't have to. But using Akron as an extreme, just because they have held a highly rated team for a number of years now, the fact that they're not banning Mira tells me that they're not worried about her. So I'm thinking about other teams, if they could work around things like comfort bans and not just rely on them to just be comfort.
Exactly. And honestly, if people start to figure out how easy Mira is to deal with, and I think a lot of the reason that people want to ban or want to even play Mira is because they like her gun, right? Yep. But the fact of the matter is Goyo is a much better operator to play. One, he's got the exact same gun as Mira, but also his utility is a lot more useful than than mirrors is. A lot of people might be thinking like, oh, the shields break so easily. Mirrors broken or whatever. Like, no, it's quite the opposite. If you know how to place those shields properly, you can deny some pretty heavy pushes.
Can't you also deny more space overall?
Yeah, it's a huge area denial if you know how to place the shields properly. So, um, let's see. Looking at the other bans here.
And the ban data that we have is specifically for CEA, so this doesn't extend out to CR6, but having the casters make that call that Mira is banned heavily tells me that it's pretty consistent across collegiate.
Considering a lot of these same teams are also playing in CR6, I would bet a lot of money that this list is almost directly mirrored to CR6.
Hey,
I would bet a ton of money.
I wish you would have said mirrored.
That would have been a good pun. But
you're gonna have to work on your dad jokes.
I know. There is one thing that kind of bugs me, right? When people ban Thatcher, look at this. If you look at New York Tech versus Rutgers,
mm-hmm.
if this list is correct on how bans are made, that means one team banned Thatcher and then immediately banned Cade. Why on earth would you do that?
Did they really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's happened several times, too. Look at this. 2 other teams. CSULB versus Arizona. Ban Thatcher and then immediately ban Cade. Michigan, Pennsylvania. Ban Thatcher, immediately ban Cade. Can someone in chat tell me what your thought process is behind that? Why you think they would do that? Because that's a complete washout.
I mean, the Rutgers New York Tech was on Coastline, or that was map 1. That was on Oregon. Or sorry, reading this chat or this spreadsheet is a little difficult because they put the map 1 selection just after the map bans. So map 1 was Oregon, where Thatcher was banned, and then Cade was. Now Rutgers and New York Tech are not necessarily top tier teams by any stretch of the imagination, but
CSULB versus ASU.
Yeah, that's where the idea that a low tier team would do that kind of falls apart.
Yeah.
It was
and to answer your question, homie Migs, it was none of them played on Clubhouse. No matches were played on Clubhouse because the glitch Cade spots, areas Cali can't get them. Well, you don't need Cali, right? You can just use Maverick.
But yeah, that those pair of bans don't make sense to me. And what I'm assuming is that they happen, the way that they're listed is in order that they happened. So it's not the same team making the same ban either. It was, so the Rutgers match, for example, Blackbeard, then Thatcher, and then Cade, and then Wamai. So that's a really weird progression for me.
No, what happened? So the how the bans go is one team bans an attacker, the next team bans an attacker,
right?
Then that same team bans a defender, and then that first team bans a defender. So the middle two,
Thatcher, bans, then immediately Cade. Wow, that's a weird one. That makes it even more weird.
Yeah. Consulate, you can put a Cade under a Goyo shield and make it unreachable. Can't you just use IQ or Zoph? and take it out.
And I thought,
I feel like people
how
are very creative.
and how does the leagues react to glitches like this? I thought
Well,
glitches.
technically, that's not a glitch.
I see.
Calling a Cade under a goal. Wait, under? You mean like physically underneath to where it can't even be seen, like through the floor, or like couldn't you just destroy the Goyo shield?
We'll get an answer to this, and then we'll probably be calling the episode a wrap because this has been a great episode and we covered a lot. So
The canister
in
blocks.
yeah, the
Well,
canister will.
can't you just shoot the canister and blow up their shield? And there goes the Cade.
That's
I mean,
interesting.
I feel like that's a pretty easy solution.
We'll have maybe you'll have to play with this and talk to us next week about how it goes.
I'll have to go into a custom game and try and recreate this and
Yeah,
see what's going on.
because if it was really that strong of a strategy, I would think you would see it in Pro League, and then you would have more consistent bans.
Physically can't be seen in the metal container of the shield blocks it being shot. That's what I'm saying. Is to take out the shield, shoot the Goyo canister. You can still blow up a Goyo shield regularly.
Yeah, I want you to make this your personal mission and find an answer to this because I'm really really excited to have information come back to our chatters and see if there is some way that we can help assist some of the teams that are paying attention to our podcast. That would be kind of a cool
You
way to bring some value back around.
United Mix says United was the first to do it. Hey, homie Mix, if you know which match that was, can you like DM me on Twitter or something and tell me which match that was so I can go watch it and see what's up with that?
Awesome. Yeah, let's do that. But let's go and wrap up. So, thank you everybody in chat. It was great to have your perspectives on the podcast and talk about the playoffs a little bit differently. Now, if you made your own bracket predictions, I would love to hear them. So you can hit me up on Twitter at WarlockerCall, and I want to know how your picks are different than mine and Syntax's, or how they align. Even if you don't agree why we picked what we picked, I would love to have your opinion to be able to share. So you can also share a voice message with us at anchor.fm/checkyour6/message, and we'll get that on the podcast next week if you leave us a line. So happy to hear from you. Happy to have you all in chat. Looking forward to next week's episode. Hopefully once again on Saturday, but Halloween takes precedence. So happy to have you all here on Sunday. If Sunday works better for you all, also leave that feedback for us so that we can help cater to your consumption of our podcast. We would love to have you more regularly. So that's it for me. You can reach out to me at pretty much everywhere on social media at WarlockerCall. Cute puppy behind me. And you can also reach out to Syntax. Where can they talk to you?
At Syntax GG, pretty much everything I think except Twitch. Twitch is the only one that has the underscore before the GG.
There you go. All right. Well, thanks again. Thank you, Syntax, for joining me. And we will catch you all next week where we've got your back so you don't have to worry about checking your six. See you guys.